I was recently introduced to Sanderson's Laws of Magic by fantasy author Brandon Sanderson, author of the Mistborn series, which I've heard is pretty neat, and he also finished The Wheel of Time. Anyway, I thought it would be worth looking at his 3 laws of magic in storytelling and see how well some of our favorite mahou shoujo anime series stack up. Starting off, law number 1. An author's ability to solve problems with magic is directly proportional to how well the reader understands said magic. At this point, I need to talk about hard magic systems and soft magic systems. Soft magic is a system where the rules are fairly vague and basically anything can happen. Princess Tutu and most of the Pretty Cure will end up in this zone. Soft magic is best used to create a sense of wonder. However, we run into trouble when it's used to solve problems. Say, our plucky heroine happens to get an unexpected new power just when it would be most useful.
Which happens a lot.
That feels cheap and like a Deus Ex Machina. Alright, now on to hard magic. These are shows like Cardcaptor Sakura and Lollyrock.
Hard by the standards of this genre, anyway.
Hard magic has clearly defined rules, and it's a tool in the hands of the characters. A good example is when Sakura was attempting to capture the water card, and had to carefully pick which cards she needed to defeat and capture Watery. Most mahou shoujo will fall into the middle ground of sorts, where we know some of the rules, but we don't actually understand how all of it works. As an example, Sailor Moon. What exactly is the Silver Millennium Crystal, and how and why do power-ups show up where and when they do? That's all mysterious, but we kind of know what the Scouts can do, their signature moves, and that sort of thing. Next up, Sanderson's second law. Limitations of magic are more interesting than its capabilities. There are very few shows which handle limitations well. As many a would-be world-conquering baddie has learned, magical girls can do just about anything.
Especially if there's enough friendship BS involved.
But every once in a while, a show will get this one right. One of my favorite moments in the first season of Sailor Moon is when Sailor Mercury has to fight a mind-controlled tuxedo mask. Rather than just getting a more useful power from the ether, or her stupid bubble beam actually functioning like a weapon, she uses the fog it creates as a distraction to grab the plot-important MacGuffin she needs right out of his classy grip. This awesome character moment came out of limitations placed on Amy's powers. Another important aspect of the second law is cost, and I don't think any magical girl show does cost better than Madoka Magica. The use of the admittedly vaguely defined magical girl powers slowly taints their soul gems. We also get to see the consequences of this, as improper soul gem maintenance was a factor in Sayaka's transformation into a musical mer-monster. Okay, now for Sanderson's final law. Expand on what you have already before you add something new. This is another area where I can't give high marks to the genre as a whole. It's rare for a magical girl to find a new way to use her powers.
Canned attack animation, anyone?
Again, I feel the need to tip my hat to Sakura. The cards are used in multiple ways, summoning the magical beings within and fortune-telling. Also, even though Sakura has clear favorites, she has to use situation-specific cards, and not always combat cards either. Next, there's interconnection. This is there to make a character's powers seem like a cohesive whole, and not just a random assortment of abilities. Most mahou shoujo are fairly good at this, partially because of the limited nature of the power sets, but most girls and teams are fairly coordinated. Witch has the elements, the Scouts have their planets and they never stray too far away from their favorite flavor of attack, and the Madoka girls are all about their favorite weapons, and the way they use them in creative and occasionally bizarre ways. Finally, there's streamlining, and this is where shows will tend to go too far. A reoccurring thing in magical girl anime is the main characters are basically the only magic users other than the bad guys. I'm looking at you, Pretty Cure. And that was Brandon Sanderson's Laws of Magic. If you're interested in this concept, I've left a link to a more in-depth article on Brandon's system down in the description. And I'd like to hear from you. Do you think his Laws of Magic would make for a better, more engaging magical girl show? Or do you think the tried and true formula is the way to go? Also, if you're interested in more reviews of anime, movies, TV shows, comic books, or video games, check out my channel right here on YouTube. And find my Facebook and DeviantArt pages for video updates and more. Thank you for watching.
Hey kids, today's show is brought to you by the letter 4 and the number potato! I'm a stupid private.